All righty. Hello there. Hope you're doing good today. It is almost 11:30 a.m. I'm heading back to Craig from Laramie. This is October 3rd. This is probably the last day, or maybe the last week, that we're going to see really bright fall colors. Now it could warm up and surprise me in the next week, and I hope it does. But it's looking like we're going to lose the fall colors. And that's no surprise. The fall colors are amazing. They're so beautiful, and they're fleeting, right? And it's probably because they're fleeting that they're so. Oh, these guys aren't turning. Oh, they're turning. Oh, no, they're not turning. Good. They're just slowing down. Yeah, that looks like oil-filled stuff. I'm glad to get around that. We are on Wyoming 10. Highway 10, probably State Highway 10. Going through Woods Landing and going over the Big Laramie River, which comes down from around Rocky Mountain National Park, a little bit north of that. It's still pretty down here. We've been shielded from the wind a little bit. That's nice to see. It's a beautiful day. A little bit on the chilly side, though. I've actually got my heat on again today. I had it, this morning. I've been filming all day, but I've been over two mountainous passes in Wyoming, and there's been snow up on top of each one of them. Not a lot of it, but the idea, it's snow. It's not ash. No, it's not from boiling. It's not from burning. It is snow from cold. So there's a fierce wind today blowing from the southwest, and it's been worse, but it's pretty bad today. And apparently the gusts are supposed to be in the 50s and 60s in the area that we're going. So we might end up having to cut some trees out of the road to get home. This is a pretty harsh day. But it's one of those neat days up here in Colorado and in the mountains in Wyoming where change is happening. Oh man, I thought that was snowy last week. Look at all the snow. You may not be able to see that because the clouds and the snowy mountains, the resolution of this camera may not allow you to see that, but there is a bunch of snow up there. Hope I can get through. I should be able to get through. I hope so. This is a road that's going to get shut down in a few weeks. I haven't driven it much this year either, and I do love this road. It's a very pleasant road. But it's quite a ways longer, than a typical drive. It probably has 40 miles to my drive, which, when I'm doing a 10 or 11 or a 12-hour day, adds like 10% maybe. So it's not that bad that way. Very pretty down here. The oak brush has, in most places that I've seen, the oak brush is pretty much done for the year. There's still some places where the oak brush is just gorgeous, but it seems to peak a bit earlier than the aspens. And then the rabbit brush around here, the stuff that's right off the side of the road, it used to be real yellow. It's turning more of a whitish color, less yellowish, whitish, and it's just losing its luminance, its hue. Things are settling into fall conditions, but we're still catching a lot of the trees. Are just gorgeous down in the valley there. Hopefully you'll be able to see some of them, and hopefully I'll be able to get across this road. I'm pretty sure I can get through it today. We are still really early. I mean, we're really early. It's October 3rd. It's just that this is a pretty strong cold front coming through. And I've already driven through snowy conditions this morning. Not snow stuck on the roadway, but snow all around the roadway. So we'll probably be okay. I really wish I knew whether my parents had driven this road before. I bet they have. They may have driven this road a long time ago. Before any of us little, that one point in time, little kids were, encumbering their ability to get stuff done. Lately, I got sort of sidetracked on what I watch on YouTube. I ended up watching some videos that were police interrogations of criminals. And of course, the interrogation, you're watching the video, but the narration and the text, we're pretty much commenting, oh, this person is lying right now. Notice how easily they lie about this or that or whatever. So I watched this, and a lot of this was young people. There were some older people, but a lot of young people. A lot of girls, weirdly enough. So then I was watching some other stuff, other like cops videos type thing, where somebody gets pulled over for a DUI and end up getting thrown in jail. And I noticed that the girls, a lot of these relatively young girls, getting pulled over like this, drunk, were freaking out in just insane amounts of violence and absolutely no control. Just kind of like they turned into big 2-year-old, 3-year-old babies, just having a complete fit. And it was interesting at first. And I watched a few of these, and it just became really sad to see how people have apparently changed in our society. Of course, when I was a kid, we didn't have cops. Cops came out in the 80s, so I was a little bit older. And so I don't really know whether people have always acted like this when a cop would pull them over and haul them into jail. I'm not entirely sure about that. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of snow up there. I'm looking forward and to the left a little bit. That's probably Rocky Mountain National Park. I think those are probably taller mountains than the forest range mountains, which we'll get to here pretty shortly. I don't think we're really seeing those mountains yet. I think we're seeing the 14ers up in Rocky Mountain National Park, and they have got a lot of snow on it. Anyway, so I'm watching this, and I sort of binge watch it because it's just so bizarre. It's interesting. And when I got done watching it, I had to stop, and I felt bad about the whole thing. And I thought about the way that my parents raised me and my brother and my sisters. And I wonder if we didn't go through that kind of stuff. We did go through things, though. There's no getting around it. We went through things, we did skipping school, and just the dumb shit that people did back in the 70s. We were doing that same stuff. And I was a complete moron at the time. I mean, I was really a dumb kid. I'm sure that anybody around me when I was that age will vouch for me. They will say, yes, he was a pretty stupid kid. I hope I've grown up. I believe I'm growing up. Anyway, I just feel bad for a lot of these people, understanding that the world is the way the world is. You are in the situation that you're in, and even if it's an awesome situation or a terrible situation, you typically have the ability to choose how you're going to let it affect you, right? That makes sense. Oh yeah, the leaves are coming off down here pretty good. Maybe we'll get into some protected areas and still see some really beautiful aspens. I think there's a chance, because we're going to be down in a shielded area for the next hour or so. By the way, we are now approaching Colorado. The color and the sound and the consistency of the roads change. There we go. And the number of the road. Now we are on Laramie County Road 103. Wonder about those vertical or those horizontal striations in that hillside, and I see them going up on 230, going up over to Mount Home, Wyoming, on the regular route that I take going home. It's very interesting. But I wonder if, because these kids, that they're grown up, that whatever, they're in trouble, they're drinking, whatever, they're so out of control. I guess the thing that made me wonder about that is because when they finally completely lose it, they're the same person. Every one of them are doing exactly the same things. They just go in this same mode. And it's not quite panic, it's just evil, and evil is probably the best way to put it. But it's weird that they become so similar. I am sure that I'm not the first person that has noticed this. And I'm sure I won't be the last. But when they finally get so far where they finally lose it, they become the same person. And I'm sure cops know that. And I've got to hand it to policemen when they're able to put up with that type of behavior and not lose it themselves. I don't think I could do that. I think I would get too involved in what was going on and get too angry, and I don't think I'd be a good cop. We'll leave it at that. And I know several decent people who are cops. I also know a couple people that are cops that are criminals. So again, it takes all kinds, and so in the field of all kinds, you're going to find good and bad anywhere. But I wonder if these kids, if they would have had a better upbringing, had a mom and a dad. Most of them didn't have a dad at home. Most of them were raised by their mom. And I just wonder how much damage has been caused to society by tearing the family apart, which is what the leftists have been doing for years to families. You know, it's funny. When I was a kid, I thought the Democrats were one party and the Republicans were the other party. Nowadays, when I think of the Democrats, I think of evil. I just think of evil people doing evil things. However, when I think of the Republicans, I think of evil people doing evil things too. The difference between the two is that the Republicans, these evil Republicans, you know, the rhinos, are lying to their constituents that they're going to help them. They're bald-faced liars. On top of doing what the Democrats are doing, that makes them, in my book, just a little bit worse than the Democrats. Because they're traitors to their own friends, family, districts, states, whatever they happen to be representing. And all these people in these government positions that look the other way allow all of this evil shit to go on. The breakdown of the family. I mean, that as a terror, it's a sad, tragic, evil thing. The destruction of industry, the destruction of morals. I mean, it's all happening. The end goal, you know, of course, taking our power completely away from us so that they can do whatever the fuck they want to do, including rounding us up and exterminating us because, well, there's just not enough food for everyone. You might think that what I'm saying sounds like conspiracy theory, but people say this, and I've seen them on YouTube talking about this. One guy in particular, I don't know the guy's name, but he was an extinction theory extremist, and he was saying, well, I don't really want to see people suffer all that much, but, you know, I mean, they're going to have to die, but I hope that they have pleasant deaths. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that's basically what he said. Keep in mind that he has absolutely no scientific knowledge of what this world can handle as far as feeding people. And for him to so arrogantly state, oh no, the world can't feed all these people, he's ignoring how many people the world fed yesterday, this year, last year, 10 years ago. He's ignoring how many more people get fed today than used to get fed. So what I'm saying is he's an arrogant, stupid fuck. That's what I'm saying. And he's evil, and he is justifying his stupid, unscientific, moronic ideology by saying, well, I hope they don't suffer too much. We hope that they don't hate it too bad. I mean, they're doing it for our own good, right? Or whatever, I'm still paraphrasing, but yeah, quite a thing. This world has taken quite a turn. In the late 1940s and 1950s, it was never again. What happened in the death camps? The statement was never again. People were horrified of the atrocities that they uncovered. And Believe me, they only uncovered a few of them. They didn't uncover the ones that the Russians committed against the Germans and against their enemies. It wasn't much better. It was terrible what was going on. In pretty much every communist regime before, during, and since, because the Nazi regime was a communist regime, leftists, don't try to say it wasn't, because it's exactly what it was. Millions of people died for this stupid ideology. And it's an ideology that, if you think about it just a little bit, you understand it's the ideology of death. That's where it leads to. It can't go anywhere else. It's amazing to me that so many people don't think about it. And I really believe that is the biggest deal, that the left has successfully been able to make them not really even think about it too much. You know, to like gloss it over. You know, to be able to use a buzzword and which would enables people to not even consider what's actually going on, what the left is actually doing. And that goes into all of the things that they've done. The environmental movement is a leftist movement to destroy the West. I've talked about that before. You know, I mean, the people in the West picked up and created technology to clean the world up. And the world is cleaner today than it was in the 70s, by far. The United States, definitely. And by the way, it's a beautiful, beautiful. Climate change. I mean, the theory of climate change has been around for over a century. The idea that CO2 is bad, but it was created by what you would call a crackpot. I think the Greta Thunberg's family. I've talked about this before. So if I have a couple of videos where I'm basically parodying myself, that's why. Probably done on the same day. But climate change is a gigantic hoax. The world boiling is quite laughable. It's October 3rd. I've driven through snow this morning. It is probably 50, maybe 55 degrees out. We're looking at a huge amount of fresh snow. Well, we will be in a few minutes. We're watching the cold come in and take over this area again. Global warming is a huge farce. Net zero is a huge farce, a corrupt scheme, and you know, it's one arm of the global warming thing. You know, the bullshit that has been put out. Everything the left does, I've understood now, is a lie. They want one thing only. They want total power. They want total control over my life and over your life, over everyone's lives, including everyone else's lives in their own parties, because it's an inhumane government. And they will, if they're successful, they will successfully destroy humanity. That's what the left will do. Because communism, I believe communism is as close to actual demonic intent as you'll ever see in this world. Because it's completely anti-humanity. Do I think that demons are going around possessing people? No, but I do think people allow themselves to be possessed with demonic thoughts. I also believe people have the ability to stop. We'll stop doing that. So we have this really crazy world where the family has been destroyed. All these terrible things are going on. We are looking at losing a battle with the leftists. I think we're actually gaining ground right now, but it's, there's certainly, I could be wrong about that. And at the end of the day, with all the stuff going on, with all the carnage that's going on in this world, with all the bad things that people get away with in this world, including what they're doing to Trump, what these evil bastards are doing to Trump by falsely indicting him, by using what was once a just legal system against an honest man. Because Trump might be a lot of things, but he's not a liar. He's not, I'm sure he lies about some things, he's lied about some things like we all do. But he is not that guy they're painting him out to be. I think yesterday there was a judge that was so gleeful. The guy that valued that extremely undervalued his properties so that he could call him a fraud. I think it's ridiculous. All of this stuff that's going on, when you look at it in its entirety, it's quite awful. It's pretty horrible, and it can be really depressing. But if you believe in God, and you believe God is perfect, this is what God intended. My best way of rationalizing it is that God wants us to choose what we want to do in life. And he wants us to choose the big things, along with the little things. And the big things would be, we choose to be good or we choose to be evil. And from the way things look, that's what God wants us to do. Now, I'm not sure why. I don't think anyone is really, anybody with a little bit of knowledge understands that they can't state a bunch of facts about God. It can't be done. I think that's also intentional. I think we're meant to believe all this stuff without having the facts. We have to come to our best conclusion and live accordingly. But if there isn't bad in the world, how would we choose bad? If bad didn't exist, we wouldn't even, if it didn't exist, we wouldn't have a sense of bad or a sense of good, because our sense of good comes from the absence of bad, but we know what bad is. We've done it. We were bad kids. We were bad people. We've probably all done something we didn't think was very good today. We'll probably do something tomorrow bad. Those who try to be, to live a Christian way of life, which in my opinion doesn't mean much more than trying to treat other people the way you want to be treated. Sounds simple, but it's not. We have a hell of a time just making it through the day. We're trying, right? But God made us. God made this world. God knows us. God knows this world. God knows what people are capable of. And I suspect that God does what God wants to do when God wants to do what God wants to do. And I expect that this world is doing exactly what God wants to do. In a sense, I think, like I said, part of it is to create a place, a theater, like a stage, right? For us to live our lives, to be able to choose good, to be able to choose bad, to be able to do as good or as bad as we like. And I suppose it's probably not rocket science to think that making that choice and living that way might be incredibly important. if we have souls, for our souls. If we, when we die, we continue somewhere else for that. The things that we do here may or may not, I don't really know, but they might. Because we have no ability to prove or disprove, again, I think that's intentional, we are left with believing. And I think that's also quite intentional, because if we don't really know, we have to believe. I think it frees us to do what we are going to do with the the clearest ability to do to live what we have in our hearts, right? Because if we knew God existed, if we knew Jesus existed, or whoever, I mean, whatever entity that could be out there, the God that created us, it would change this world dramatically, wouldn't it? If we knew God existed, if we knew we had to please God. I've talked about this before, but this is one of those subjects that is quite a deep subject. It's quite interesting, and it's not provable. It's not disprovable either. It's what you make of it. So yeah, I'm liking this. We're getting into a more secluded part of this valley, and the trees are looking beautiful up here. So I'm loving it. But weirdly enough, this change of seasons makes me think about the big issues. Maybe it's because we're watching something die. We're watching all these plants die. We're watching everything go dead and dormant. You know, when you have 4 seasons, you see that. Winter's coming. This place is going to be covered up and look completely different than it does right now. And then in the spring, it'll come back to life. And that's a miracle in itself. It's amazing to watch. So I suppose that in that sense, that leads me to ponder the bigger questions, right? And I like to ponder the bigger questions, the larger questions, rather than just pick at the details of what the left is doing. I mean, I think that's important. I think it's important to have an opinion about that and to say something about it, because we are a representative, we're a representative democracy. About the technical terms, people represent us. They need to know what we think. If we shut up because we're scared of being censored somehow, whatever, demonetized, thrown in jail, whatever it might be, and we don't give our opinion, that is not how our democracy works. What do our elected officials do then? I mean, well, we know what pretty much they're going to do, the ones that we have right now. They're going to do whatever suits them, no matter what. Yeah, we just passed this gigantic shop. And there's a pretty giant house. You can't see it. It's just over to our right. It's part of whatever ranch is out here. It looks like a boutique ranch to me, but they may actually do ranching. But I certainly don't see many cows here. But I do see evidence of cows out in the pasture. But we're getting ready to go into the National Forest land here coming up. I believe this is where the road gets shut down in the winter, which, my friends, is not far off. And I would guess we're probably around 8,000 feet. But I don't know. So anyway, we have these beliefs. I think that if you believe God is perfect, everything is working the way that God has planned it to work. And if you think about it in that sense, God created everything and evil is part of everything. So God created, maybe not created evil itself, maybe, but created the ability for us to do evil. Because I don't think it's God doing evil. I think it's us doing evil in the world. I don't today. Today's kind of a full day. If we have a couple warm weeks, I'm going to come up this road, stop, and I'm going to take a sample of this river up here, just to see what the the geology looks like. Taking a pan is a great way to just see what the bones of the land look like. What kind of rocks do you get? So I don't really imagine that I would find any gold, but you never know around here. This, I really don't know what kind of mining went on up here. It seems like there's some activity, but I don't know. I really don't. Oh yeah, I'm liking that up there. You'll like that. We'll get up in there and get to see both. As we, twist and turn up this road, you'll get to see both sides of the valleys, which are lit up with really beautiful aspens. But I'm glad we came today, because next week it's not going to be as brilliant. We are definitely my opinion, we are definitely at the peak right now, or maybe just a touch past the peak. Certainly up here. Again, in my opinion. I could get proven wrong next week. Sadly, I probably won't be proven wrong, and the fall will go away. It's always sad when it goes away. Yes, I'm intertwining. I'm weaving a conversation, going from belief to the weather, to the trees, climate change, people getting in trouble, the law, wondering about if they would have been raised differently, would it have made any difference? The way the road is today is much more typical of this road. Very potholed everywhere. It's still not as bad as I've seen it, but it's getting that way. Probably got beat up pretty good yesterday. And maybe in, a few days ago or a week or two ago, when that snow fell, some of that snow was here last week. So I'm sure that snow fell overnight up here and today. Anyway, yeah, this fall weather puts me in this philosophical mood. And I really don't know how to wrap this thought up. because I don't really have a good way to wrap it up. I mean, I'm sort of leaving it hang there where I believe that what is happening in this world is exactly what God has planned. That there is bad in the world, that people choose bad. That's what they want. And if they want to choose good, they can. So we have that ability to. We know what is good. We know what is bad in this world. Of course, we have the people that say, well, if there's a God, why would he allow all this suffering? I don't really know the answer to that question, but I think that I could make a comment about that, which is, it appears to me that other than medical conditions, it looks to me like people cause other people's suffering. People are the cause of this suffering. And I would think that if God struck all the people down that were doing bad, creating suffering for other people, that maybe that would upset the balance that potentially might have to be here for people to freely choose whether they want to be good or bad. I do believe that God does love us. Where does love come from? What do we know about love? Did we invent love? Maybe. Maybe not, you know. We feel love. We feel this feeling called love. We say things like, I love my family. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my pets. I love my friends. I love that beautiful hillside over there. Those red aspens are very pretty. I think, and in another way, probably extremely unsatisfactorily answer that question. Now, maybe that's a question that's not supposed to be answerable. Maybe that is a condition in this world that we have got to accept. If you think about it, the natural world, I mean the world without evil, works in what we would consider a pretty cruel, harsh way. I mean, I see animals killed on the road all the time. I feel terrible for them. But animals have to kill animals in order to survive, and they do constantly. Predators eat animals that they can catch. Animals eat whatever animals they can catch, or they eat food. You know, the food being, well, obviously animals are food also, but they eat vegetables, I guess, whatever. Everything that an animal eats is living. Whether it's plant, whether it's meat, right? You know, and they get the minerals, the elements, and everything that they need out of the things that they eat. And then as animals get more complicated, or maybe bigger, maybe there are less predators that can eat them. But then the world of microbiology rears its billions and trillions of ugly little heads, right? I don't know if they're ugly little heads or not. But they will eat the big animals that predators can't eat. And they eat any, you know, I mean, if you see a dead animal on the side of the road, any kind of time goes by, you'll see that animal goes away. It gets taken back by nature. So maybe there are some questions that we can't answer about God, but that if we look in another place, we might see something that gives us a clue about that. Nature is, from our standpoint, nature is incredibly cruel. Hard winters starve animals. We had a hard winter last year. It starved several animals in Moffat County and in other areas. We've had worse winters. I hope this winter isn't one of them. There can be dry spells. Animals die. Plants die. There are all of these conditions that we don't understand at the end of the day. Yeah, I know the climate change people are arrogant. They believe by and large that everything comes from randomness. And that works well for them because they can, whether they say it or not, they can feel superior to everyone else because they don't have to try to understand randomness. They don't have to do any deep dives in philosophy when it's just all random. And they can go about their way happily arrogant that they're the smartest people in the world, and then come up with really, really gigantic gems like climate change bullshit, like the environmental movement bullshit, like the extinction, theory bullshit. I think I probably would add aliens to that list also. And I think there are some religions out there that deserve to be on that list too. Festivus, yes. Let's put Festivus on that list. I don't think anyone would complain about that. How about Kwanzaa? It's made up, these are made up, in the 70s or 60s or between the 60s and the 80s. Made up as like a black power kind of a thing. A way to put a wedge in between people, I was talking to one of the subscribers of this channel. And he's a black guy, pretty cool guy. We talked a little bit. And he said, what I totally believe what he said is true. That years ago, black and white people were getting along just fine. But the Democrats stirred it up, have done their best to ignite a race war. It's not really gone over that well in the States, but in England, it's really created some issues in England. But around here, I think most thinking people are over that shit. That was his opinion, that was my opinion. He's a black guy, I'm a white guy. When I was a kid, I got along with the black kids that were in school. I got along with the Mexican kids that were in school. When I went to college, I was in subclass. It was kind of a hippy-dippy class. And one of the questions that I remember was, so this professor asked, so how many people do you think, in percentage of people are black? Or, whatever. And I said, I think about, maybe, 20% or something like that. And so he turned our answers in. Or we recited them or something. And this was probably the first time I was, shamed, didn't even know what was going on, being shamed by a leftist. And he said, how can you think there's 20% or whatever it was? That just shows how racist you are. This was back in the 90s. And I'm paraphrasing again, I don't remember the entire conversation. But I was thinking, I don't buy that. I don't buy that I'm a racist because I don't know what percentage of people are black or Mexican or white. I just know that in my school, I mean, looking back, I figure there's, 1 out of 5 people were black or 2 out, whatever it was. It didn't seem like that made me a racist. I don't remember as a kid thinking, oh, there's just too many black people or too many Mexicans or too many white people, whatever it might be. So I think what I was experiencing was the early stages of the modern divide and conquer attempt in the States to create a huge racial divide, which I think they failed. I think they have completely failed to do. There are people out there, that make a big stink about race. But I see that in the context of the left attempting to ignite a race war. The left desperately wants there to be white supremacists. And there are apparently a few of them. But there's also a few murderers out there, serial killers, people that, bomb people that kill their own family. I mean, there's all kinds of bad people out there. But as far as a movement of white supremacists, other than stupid clubs, probably started by stupid teenagers that don't have a dad at home to kick their ass when they're doing something stupid. So I just don't see that. I don't see it in society now. I see the left trying to gin that up, and the guy that I'm talking about, he basically said the same thing, and I get this more and more when I talk to people about this kind of stuff. The more I find that we're thinking alike. And I believe that that's the truth, and I think that's one of the things the left has been really good about doing, which is trying to keep people isolated and make them think they're the only ones that think these whatever horrible thoughts of, if you're a white person, well, you're obviously just horrible, right? Or if you're a black conservative, oh, you're just horrible. Or if you're a black conservative male, if you're a black conservative female, well, you're terrible. I think that they want to keep us as much as they can separated, thinking these kind of thoughts. And that's probably a good way to, if they can separate us from people that we agree with, maybe if things go really good for them in their quest to destroy us, we end up going down the road of depression and anger and bitterness, and eventually we turn into those people. That's what I believe they want to happen. But I don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. I do not know anyone that is a racist right now. I have known people in the past that were racist. And, both black and white and Mexican, those are mainly the people that I hang out with. Would be white people, black people, and Mexicans. Those would be the 3 people that, where I've lived, that I've hung out with. Occasionally, a few Asian people. So I've run into some different races. But I just don't buy it. I just don't get it. I don't have that. I'm just not buying their bullshit. I'm not buying the left's bullshit. And I don't think many people are anymore. I think for the most part, they did that in the 60s. The best they could do was in the 60s, and that wasn't very good either. Black people and white people have been getting along pretty good. Of course, then they like to try to create other fights, like, well, but Mexicans really don't like black people, and they try to pit people against each other. Also, they can hoodwink us and take our power away from us. All for one ridiculous reason, because they are the evil people putting evil into the world. So I'm going to back up a little bit and say, so when I think of Democrats nowadays, I think of evil people. I think of Democrats as the evil party. However, I think of the Republican politicians, especially the ones in Washington, as the evil party also, the uniparty. There are a very few Republicans that I trust, but there are some. And I got so disgusted with the Republicans that I dropped out of the party. I'm an independent now. Screw the Republicans, screw the rhinos, is what I'm saying, not the actual real conservatives. But I don't see any reason to support those bastards. And the thing that really gets me is the political mail that I get is slowed down quite a bit. But I would get these political emails, and on the front of the envelope it was Donald Trump. All about Donald Trump, and then I'd look at it, and I'd look for the Republican National Committee somewhere, I'd find it, and it would go in the trash. Because those rotten bastards stabbed Donald Trump in the back, stabbed him in the back, and are still doing it by allowing these illegal sham investigations going on. And then at the same time, out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying, oh, we support Donald Trump. Look at, here's Donald Trump's picture. Give us money. To that, I've got a quite frank and stern fuck you as my reply to the Republicans that are trying to pull that bullshit. The Democrats are in a horrible, horrible shape as far as the party goes. They are mainly taken over by evil leftists, and that's who's running the party. But the Republicans are not much different. So when I look at people out there like Robert Kennedy, he's an interesting person. I don't trust him as much as I would somebody like Trump, but I trust him more than I trust DeSantis. And DeSantis does seem to be an okay guy. Just kidding, I'm going to sneeze. DeSantis seems like a good guy getting really bad information. And I wouldn't be surprised if DeSantis has handlers that are on the left telling him to do the dumbass things that he's doing, because he seems like he's a pretty good guy. So I'm kind of on the fence about him. Robert Kennedy is an interesting guy. It's good to see that there are people like that with a D, behind their political affiliation of being a Democrat. It's the same, when you find a Republican that you think might be an honest person too. Now, I don't believe Trump is an honest person. Like I said, I believe Trump lies about things we all lie about, but that he is an honest person. He's not a leftist. He's not in it for the money. He's not in it for the ego. He's in it to try to save this country, because he was so blessed. His ability to make money and to thrive and to be such a great businessman was because of the good things about this country that have since been under attack, 24/7. Industry, business, everything is under attack. Capitalism is under attack. You know that. It's kind of a interesting, swampy-looking spot. I would like to get across that valley and go look at some what appear to be some pegmatite, some quartz veins, maybe. But this has been a busy year for me. I have not had the time that I want to do all the things that I want to do. But at the same time, I don't mind not getting everything done that I want to get done, and I hope that I'm around the next year and have the opportunity to maybe do some of these things. So my rambling on today is a lot like, I guess, the wind, blowing leaves one direction or the other. Sometimes it's stopped. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Wind, right? Windy. I'm talking wind. Well, what I'm talking about, people that comment. Well, I appreciate all the people that comment. I probably don't talk about y'all enough. I've got a tiny channel, and I appreciate everybody who subscribed. I truly do. And until I absolutely cannot, I will always answer your emails. If for some reason my channel gets too big, which I'm not too concerned about that happening right now. I don't think YouTube, it's not their vested interest as part of the left movement to allow me to be treated fairly on their platform. But believe me, if I were talking about leftist principles and going on about gender fluidity and all that bullshit, I'd probably have several million subs and be making, like $30,000 a month off the channel. Because if I were pushing their propaganda, I ain't gonna do that. And I don't need their goddamn money either. No, I'm not saying that I'm Donald Trump, because I'm not. And I hope that I never need their money. I believe this could have been a lake that has been expanded into a larger lake, and maybe a reservoir, but it may never have been a lake. I really don't know. I'm sure there's somebody out there that does though. We're getting up into this forest that is, if you look at this forest and how thick it is, it's hard to look at it and think that the Forest Service is properly managing this forest. And I'll bet you that the local people around here feel that way about it. But I'll also bet you that the bureaucrats in Washington don't allow it. I think they love to see the standing dead. There, by the way, there's a really ridiculous proposition floating around the globalists, the brain trust. And I say that not meaning it. Globalists, by virtue of their billions of dollars, believe they are the rulers and the leaders in this world. They believe that they've got that right. We did not give them that right. The people of this world did not give them that right. They're taking that right away from us, from the governments. Hell, even Klaus Schwab said so yesterday, or recently. Well, we're going to rule. No more superpowers. It's going to be people like me and Bill Gates. We're going to rule. And I'm thinking, I made a comment on the app formerly known as Twitter. Oh, really? Have you run out by the populace? And I think that might have been considered hate speech by Susan Yakachuna, whatever her last name is. Yapachino, I don't know what her last name is. I'm not trying to be racist by not being able to pronounce her last name. I just can't pronounce it. Yakachira? Yep, I don't know. I think that, whatever. it's interesting to me that this part of the forest, I believe, was private. And if you take a look at it, it's in pretty good shape. There's some deadfall in it, but it looks pretty good, you know. Oh yeah, so the scheme is this. The scheme is, it's a net zero scheme. It's a bunch of bullshit. I think what it is, it's a way to stop people from burning firewood. I think it, number one, because the globalists do not want us to be able to stay warm in the winter. That's why they want us to have an all-electric house that they can shut down, and they do not want us to have a backup source of warmth. So I don't think that, you know, they do not want us to be able to come up here and gather the unlimited supply of firewood that is up in these forests. It's unlimited. We could pull firewood out of this forest for the rest of our lives, and we wouldn't make a dent in the wood that's up here. Us local people. What their plan is this. They're going to cut down all these trees, then they're going to hermetically seal them, then they're going to bury them or store them somewhere, and that way they're going to sequester carbon. It is a typical stupid as fuck globalist type of a fantasy. The only thing that they have going for them is they've got enough money to actually do it. But it doesn't make it not stupid. So that's what they're planning on doing. I mean, that's what they're throwing that out there. You know, they believe that if they keep banging the net zero drum, that's their way into total, complete government regulation of our lives. And so they're not going to give up on it. However, they didn't run that by the populace either. I really think that the globalists might want to humble themselves just a tiny little bit. They are not gods. They are people. Maybe they can live to be older than us, but that's probably because of the Chinese organs that they get transplanted in when one of their organs wears out. What I'm saying is, yeah, if they're living really long lives, it's probably due to the detriment and the shortening of someone else's life. So I don't have anything good to say about these globalists that believe they are the gods, because they're not. You guys are mortal. You're just as mortal as the rest of us. You're going to die, and you better be hoping that there's no God. You better hope there is no God. I think you're mistaken. And you know what? You're going to be on an equal playing field as the rest of us at that point. So, anyway, yes, I'm rambling. Just been one of those kind of days. I think that what I want to do, and by the way, there's a dam right there. There's a big reservoir right behind that dam. There's several reservoirs up here. I think they're all part of they're part of the Front Range collecting water. Well, the Front Range needs a lot of water because there are a lot of people that get thirsty that live on the Front Range. Just so you know, we have just got off of the Laramie River Road. We are now on highway, let me think about this. I believe it is Highway 14. Yeah, pretty sure Highway 14. heading up over the top of Cameron Pass. Had we turned the other direction, we would have gone down into Fort Collins. It's quite a ways from here, but that's where we would have ended up. And so we'll go over the top of Cameron, which is what will be nice to see in the fall. We're kind of up above the aspens, but there could be some, sprinklings of them up here on top. But we'll get back down into the aspens after we, get over the top. Anyway, to get back to another subject, pick that thread up. I will always answer comments as much as I can. Now, if you're a leftist and you have stumbled across my channel and you're getting all riled up and you're mad at me and you're gonna tell me my Watt 4s, right? You're gonna give it to me. Fine. But I'm gonna give it right back to you also. I don't put up with that shit. If you want to get on here and comment and disrespect me, I'm going to give it right back to you. So, little forewarning for you. And if you decide that you're going to take that as a challenge, it's fine with me. I think that Cameron is about like 10,400 feet, the pass, the altitude, the road, maybe 10,000. If I called it 10,500 feet, I probably won't be off by more than 300 or 400 feet one way or another. Now, the mountains that we're looking at that have snow on them, fresh snow, by the way, are probably between 12 and 13,000 feet. So that is basically where the snow level is today. And it could well be when this front blows through and it warms up that snow will melt. But it could also be that snow won't melt until next year. And it may not melt next year, it just depends on where it's falling. I do believe that the majority, if not all of the snow, came off of these mountains, the ones just right over to our left. This summer. I don't think that there are any year-round snowbanks up here. There might be one. There could be more than that, actually, that I just can't see from the highway. So that's a little parking area. There's a nice little reservoir over there. Big, probably, relatively large reservoir. And a bathroom. We passed 2 bathrooms now. There are a lot of them up here. Oh, it's getting windy up here too. Really getting back up into the wind. But anyway, yeah, the people that comment, you know, if you watch my channel and you don't comment, I mean, that's great, that's fine. But the people that do comment, you know, I appreciate your comments. I mean, everyone has some interesting insights. Lori, I don't know where Lori is from. I'll use your first name. I don't want to give anyone's names away, really, ain't all the way, but you know, she comments from time to time. I appreciate her comments. She likes the scenery and agrees with a lot of what I say. I guess that's where I kind of left that up in the air, is that a lot of people, I think, agree with what I'm saying. I'm not an extremist. I know we've been painted out to be, us conservatives, to be extremists, but we're not. I guarantee you, I will guarantee you, well, yeah, for what that's worth, the extremists, the tiny minority of extremists are the leftists. They're the people that are pushing this stuff. They're wagging the dog. I mean, that is exactly why that term was invented. You know, the tail is wagging the dog. The people that are in the media, the people that are in politics, those are the people that are the extremists wagging the dog, the bureaucracies. And the people that are hiding behind that, the people that are doing the dirty work of the globalists and the globalists themselves. There are not many of these people. They want us to think that there are a huge number of them. They do have the money, the power, and the placement to make it appear that there are a bunch of them, but they're not. They're very few. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some of them out there that know just how few people are actually on the verge of destroying this country, with just how few people, and really for the amount of damage they're doing, how few resources they're putting into it to get that done. Okay. And another thing about the conservatives, I mean, we all are probably a lot alike in the sense that we would just like people to deal with the issues they're supposed to deal with when we vote for them so we can get on with our lives. We are not leftist activists. We don't like doing this crap. We don't like protesting. We don't like yammering on about this stuff. It's not in our nature, but I think we have to do it. So, but I think for the most part, we don't. Like the people that don't comment, they're like me. I don't comment on too many YouTube videos, but occasionally I will comment. Of course, I get butthurt when I don't get a reply when I comment on a channel. By the way, that's snow that is falling, that is coming down on the windshield. It's fine snow. If you can't see it, I'm telling you it's snow, but it is actually snow. I know I've commented on Tim Pool's channel a couple times. I get it though. I mean, those guys are the rock stars of the internet. You know, the Tim Pool, yeah. You know, the people that are real knowledge, that are well known, and they deserve it. I mean, they've built that up. But it would still be fun to have them actually, do a like or something. Now, I do watch a guy who has the channel Abandoned and Forgotten Places. His stage name is Galai Coolness. That's very funny. I mean, I find that quite humorous. I doubt his mom named him Glycoolness. Glycol. But anyway, the whole thing, I mean, it's punished in every way. Now he responds. That's kind of cool. I like that. I mean, he responded. I made a comment about a piece of equipment that he was looking at, thinking that it might have been like a roasting oven of some kind. But it was actually like an arsenic mixer or something, a way to treat the ore with arsenic. That's one of the things you do with gold. You treat it with arsenic, and then like step 1, treat with arsenic. Step 3, make money. Well, you basically, it gives you the ability to leach the gold out, and in some cases float the gold out. One of the ways that gold is processed nowadays is I think the term is flock, like the suds that float on top of water. I think I was lit up. But that looked like a Forest Service truck to me. That's not to say he's not responding to a valid emergency. It's just that it looked like a Forest Service vehicle. Oh yeah, and I wanted to mention a couple things. I mentioned my sister's channel, Woman at the Wheel. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. She's been getting more views than me, which is fine with me. I am quite jealous though. Just don't tell her. But it's cool. She's been working at it a lot longer than me and a lot harder than me, and it's she's just been banging away at it, and I'm glad to see that. So she just did a video last week where she was down in Houston, and actually south of Houston. Can't think of the name of the town now. But it was a very cool video. I really liked it. She was also in LaGrange, Texas. LaGrange. You know what I'm talking about. Rumors spreading around. About that shack outside LaGrange. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about. So anyway, so if you haven't watched Woman at the Wheel, do subscribe. It's pretty cool. It's nice to see what she does. She hauls these big doubles. I mean, I will not do what she does. I have no interest in doing that. When we were kids, we were out at the Grand Canyon, and I was teasing her. We were just being kids. She was saying, something about maybe she wanted to be a truck driver someday. And I said, women can't be truck drivers, because at the time women didn't really drive trucks. I mean, that wasn't a big thing, but I was just being a little silly kid. And she got mad at me and she slapped me, but I don't think she meant to really hurt me, but it ended up breaking my tooth, and it broke it off right down to where the nerve was really sensitive. For 3 days, I was just in pain, in excruciating pain with that tooth, before it finally started to, dull up a little bit. And Dad and Mom would stop and they'd try to get, tooth medicine, whatever, something that would numb your tooth, and nothing helped. That was pretty bad. But I think she meant to slap me, but I don't think she meant to actually hurt me. We were just kids. By the way, the headwaters of the Colorado River and of the North Platte River are right up in this area. I think we passed them just a little bit ago. Colorado River starts a little bit south of here and runs to the south. The Platte River starts somewhere around in this area, and it runs to the northwestish. and ends up going up into Wyoming and becomes a pretty important river up there, really. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna pull off here and use the fine facilities that are provided by the State Forest State Park. Oh, wait, oh, I'm not. Yeah, I am. I thought I... I'm kind of rubbing my tires today. That was that sound. For some reason, this didn't look right. I didn't see the... Oh, it's because it isn't right. Okay. All right. There's a campground and there's a visitor center. So, yeah, and this guy's going to whatever emergency that was that I need to. Okay. All right. False alarm. Let's try this again. Anyway, so if you're driving somewhere, drive careful. I hope you're driving somewhere as pretty, or for that matter, even prettier would be okay with me. I'd be jealous, of course, but I'd be happy for you too. I wouldn't be like evilly jealous, rubbing my hands together, plotting revenge type jealous. I'm not that guy. I do like those red aspen trees up there, probably going out of view right now for you. Very pretty. Looks like there's a big dirt work project going on down in that valley. See how what a bunch of land looks like it's been stripped. Oh no, that's not that. Maybe it is. No, it isn't. Okay. It looked like open ground, like somebody was building up. Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't that. And I will probably start up a new filming session as soon as I get done with my little rest stop break, assuming I can find it. It's a very nice rest area. It's really cool. It's a big cabin, big log cabin, large area, nice bathrooms. They even have touristy stuff in there. They have maps, t-shirts, coffee, just that kind of stuff. Kind of a strange mix of government and business. Okay, there's the Gould Community Center. So you might see that green rooftop hiding over there to the left. You might not see it. That's the community center, or the visitor center. We just passed the Gould Community Center, passing the visitor center. Yeah. And that's where this guy's going. I would imagine that the hunters have been pretty good about stopping here and taking advantage of the facilities. Anyway, take care and I'll see you later. Thanks for riding along.